got to hit that record button twice because we're recording now. So you need to hurry and get this party started.
I am ready. I think I'm ready. Actually, I'm not ready. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Western Contingent. I am Tim from Las Vegas.
I'm Sam from the Pacific Northwest. Welcome, everybody.
So here we are again, Sam. Yes. So before we get started real quick, just wanted to make a couple of announcements. So number one, starting, I guess everybody will see this after the event, but WSBG is the World Series of Board Gaming is starting. We're loading in today, and that'll be starting tomorrow. So looking forward to that. And also Dice Tower West, the Las Vegas Board Game Convention. Our early bird room sales end September 30th. So, yeah, so please, if you plan on coming and you want to get a great rate on rooms, our rooms are selling fast. Our badges are selling fast. We are probably going to be, not probably, we're projected right now to be more than 10% growth over last year. So we're really excited about that. It's looking really fantastic. Yeah. So please go ahead and get your rooms, get those in, and get excited for another great event in March of 2026.
Yeah, the rooms are nice too, people. Don't I'm just want to put that little plug in there. My wife and I stayed in a very nice room. We had a sprawling view of the Sphere. We were on that side of the and that was interesting. We had to close both sets of our curtains at night.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a huge light bulb outside, but it was really cool to look at. And we like dark rooms when we sleep anyway, so it didn't bother us at all. So it's very comfortable rooms, not too far away either. You get your steps in, but it's not too far away from the actual convention hall. So
so go ahead and do that for Dice Tower West, the Las Vegas Board Game Convention in March of 2026.
Yes.
So what have you been up to, Sam? What's been going on the past week for you?
Well, it's really just we are on kind of like autopilot right now, man. We are just getting into the beginning of the school year, trying to keep the kids with their heads down in their books, but they also have to do all of the extracurriculars that they're signed up for. Football is in full swing for Aiden. He actually had his first game last Saturday, and he's pretty excited. He's the punter, and he is a defensive end, and he is a winger on the offense. So he's playing in all arenas as far as that's concerned. And he's really excited about it. He got some good pressure on the quarterback from the defensive side of the ball. He actually got to score a rushing touchdown. That was his first touchdown of his high school career, so that was cool. Got to catch that on tape. Nice. Tape. Why do we use the word tape anymore?
That's what it is, right? No? I mean,
no, it's all digital now. It's all digital.
Right. That's right.
But it's the phrase, I got it on tape. You know?
Right. Yeah.
But that's just so that was cool to watch. They won their first game, so that was a cool thing. It was a nail biter as well. A lot of good defensive play. Some mistakes from both teams on the offense, which kind of kept both teams in it. So it was a good. It was over in Idaho as well, so it was a 6-hour round trip. But I was able. I'm not supposed to do this. I actually texted my wife right before I did it. I said, I'm about to do something, and you can't stop me, because I had to go by myself. My wife had to work. And I stopped by a Barnes & Noble, but she told me to do that. She didn't tell me to do this other thing. Right across the street from the Barnes & Noble was a Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh.
And she couldn't stop me. And so, but I bought it. I bought a dozen of the Harry Potter themed. I bought the Harry Potter dozen, which I didn't have any of the Harry Potter ones because that's too much. I had 2. And over a 3-day period, I had 2. And that was my thing for like the quarter. But man, I love Krispy Kreme donuts, dude. They're so good.
They are. They're really good. It's funny because when I grew up. So I grew up in the Northeast, and
Mm,
over back there, it was Dunkin' Donuts was king, right?
yeah,
And a lot of different parts around the country, you have different regional things.
yeah,
Donut shops, pizza shops, hamburger shops, sandwich shops, whatever. And I had never heard of Krispy Kreme, because I don't know what part of the country that sort of originated in or was big in,
mm,
um, until I, I don't know. It might have been even when I came to Vegas in the '90s or something. Like I'd never heard about it, but yeah, they're very good. They're very different, and all those different kind of donut brands have their own uniqueness about them too, in a sense,
yeah.
But Krispy Kreme is, yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah. I I don't know where they're from either. And while you were talking, I'm starting to look it up because now I'm curious. I know Midwest is a term for a region of the country. Is Mid East? I know the Middle East is not part of our country, but is like because I'm thinking that's where they came from. My dad is the one that introduced me to Krispy Kreme, and he's from Indiana. So I'm just trying to see if there is a
There,
come
yeah,
on.
there could be a term Mid East. I'm not sure because it always cracks me up. Like, so Connecticut is right on Long Island Sound, so we're on the eastern seaboard actually. And a lot
Right.
of times when people say, "Oh, I grew up back east," I get excited. I'm like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Where?" And they'll be like, "Oh, Indiana," and I'm like, "That's not east," but it is east.
It's mid east.
It's
It's
mid
not
east,
the
yeah,
Middle East,
right.
but yeah. I can't. There's so much. Maybe facts. Online or no? Come on. I don't want any of that. Are Krispy Kremes kosher? You're eating a donut, dude. Why do you need to worry about being kosher? Oh, I know why. Please don't hurt me. I know why, but that just was
Just type in
a question I was not expecting.
where was Krispy Kreme founded? Just type that in, right? You might Google it.
I guess so. I was trying to be nice and go to their actual website, but
Oh, don't do that.
where was
Not with Google AI, man.
Krispy
That's so good.
Kreme founded? All right, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, June
Okay, there we go.
13th. I'm sorry, July 13th, 1937
Yeah, so that's
was the first
southeast.
one. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it is. It is kind of southeast, isn't it? North Carolina. Although I have trouble calling North Carolina part of the South, but because it's North Carolina.
But it is.
But, but that's that, I guess. But that's interesting. I would have never guessed North Carolina. But 1937, man, they're almost 100 years old at this point.
Yeah, I
Wow.
know. I mean, a lot of those things have been around a long time, man. Like a lot of
You
those
guys have got an awesome donut shop
pig box.
right down the road from the convention center.
Yes. Well, are you talking
I
about
can't
pig
remember
box?
the name of the place.
Well, there's the Bagel Mania, Siegel's Bagel Mania, and they have a pink box in there. But there may be another.
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah, pink
It's the
box is
one
fantastic.
you have to kind of walk down the road, kind of almost the road runs perpendicular to the road that the hotel is on, and you got to
Correct, because
walk down that way
yep, the
past the
hotel is on
convention center.
Paradise. It's I believe it's Convention Center Drive. So yeah,
Yeah,
you just go out the end of the convention hall, and a lot of
yep,
people take that walk. It's maybe a 15-minute walk up to
yeah,
the Bagel Mania place. If it
maybe a
even
quarter of a mile. It's not far at all.
no, it's not far at all. But it is, yeah, that's yeah. So come out to
You
Night
do
Star West. There's
not
a lot of good stuff around there.
you do not work off all the calories that you will consume, even in a
No,
round trip.
no,
So,
no.
but it's still worth it.
Yes, yes, it is. I
So
can
good.
attest to that. Yes. Yeah. So how about any games? You been playing any good games lately this past week?
Actually, yeah. Yesterday, my wife and I, we switched recording these from Wednesday to Thursday because my wife's schedule at work changed, and she's free in the mornings on Monday, Wednesday, Friday to do stuff. And so, trying to take advantage of that, we played Four Gardens yesterday, live on the flip side, and it's a Dice Tower Essential. It's put out by Arcane Wonders. Originally, it was put out by Korea Board Games over in Korea. It's actually, they ran a design contest over there in 2018, and this one was the winner of their 2018 design contest. And Arcane Wonders picked it up and brought it over. I believe 2020 is when it's listed as being released here in the States. And it's a neat resource management, procurement management, and then usage game where you're basically trying to build 4 gardens in your around this pagoda, and the 4 gardens are supposed to be honoring 4 different gods, and those are the 4 different tracks that you're trying to gain um, influence on, I guess. And those are going to be the points at the end of the game. There are some bonus tiles that will give you extra points, but the vast majority of your points are based on how far along these 4 different god tracks that you have gone. But it's got an interesting mechanism, because the pagoda, that is the 3D element of the game, it's kind of like the toy factor of the board game, has on its roofs different amounts of resources, and the cards that you're playing out of your hand are generally going to be used for a number of different things, but the main thing that they're used for most of the time is manipulating um, what shelf, or I'm sorry, not shelf, what roofs are facing you, because that's going to determine what resources you're going to be able to get. And then there's also on the cards that you play that give you that collection action. It tells you whether you're going to collect them from the bottom up or from the top down, and that is an interesting way of doing things, because you only have, at the start of the game, you only have 4 storage spots for resources, and once you've filled those up, you can't take any more, but you have to take resources in the direction of the arrow on the action card. So it's a neat decision space, because you're going to be able to manipulate. There's 4 different levels of the pagoda, and you can manipulate different levels of the pagoda, and then that's going to determine what resources you get, whether going up or going down. That was interesting, and it was a fun puzzle to try to interact with in order to get your resources. But there's also a huge aesthetic part of it, because once you have completed all of the resource requirements for your groundwork cards, they flip over and they become a panorama card. And each panorama has a different number of cards that you put into it, but it's very picturesque after you complete these panoramas. It's a really fun game. It doesn't take that long at all. I think it says 45 minutes on the box, but you're probably going to go from about 45 minutes to 60 minutes. But I just really enjoyed it. It was the first time we played it. It was a learning game for us, and the rules are short enough to where I think we did everything proper. We didn't leave anything out. It was really enjoyable, though. It's got a huge, good aesthetic quality, good table presence, good toy factor, and there's good mechanisms behind it. So I think it's very well deserving of that Dice Tower Essentials line. And Arcane Wonders, I think, was very wise to bring it over. It's a great game. 4 gardens.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't played anything new this past week, actually. Just been playing a lot of the oldies but goodies, are things that I just really like. And played SETI again, played Stupor Mundi like 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah, played Up or Down, introduced some people to Up or Down. The card, they loved it.
Yeah.
They loved it. It's I really enjoy that game. Played River Valley Glassworks a couple of times.
Cool.
Foundations Rome. So I just been playing a lot of, again, that's what I enjoy. I enjoy playing
Going back.
Playing the same game, because just this every time you get together, there's one group I play, so every single time it's like a different game, and it's like it's just, that's not that enjoyable to me. You know what I mean? It's enjoyable to me, like I'm doing this 10xing of Galactic Cruise. And last week when I played Galactic Cruise was the first time I scored over 200. So I was quite excited about that, because that was our 5th week in a row. And it took me, it took me a while to, grok things. I'm just learning. But when I sat down, it felt good because I sat down and I'm like, within like the first couple of minutes, I had a plan. I'm like, oh yeah, this, that, so
Yes.
I like that evolution of,
Yep.
but I don't want to ever get to the point of like the WSBG players, right? I'm never looking to get to that point where they play like 300 times on BGA over a year and things like
Mm-mm.
that. They know every card. And no, that's to me, I don't want to get to that point either. I just want to get to the point where I can just really feel like I know the game,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I would totally agree with that. I can't see myself ever being. I will take part in a tournament, but I don't think I'll ever be good enough to win tournaments unless it's just a fateful occurrence. I'm not that person that memorizes all of the different cards, and I can't count cards. If I'm sitting at a poker table, I can't do any of that stuff. So I'll never be good enough, I think, at games to win tournaments because those people are just on another level.
Yep.
And I would imagine that some of them at least are similar to me. They're just joining the tournament because it's a game that they enjoy and they want to be part of the tournament. I can't fathom that all of the people that enter these kinds of tournaments are those kinds of, very tournament minded people, if that makes any sense.
Oh no, I agree 100%. Yeah, for sure.
The second one that I want to talk about then is a little card game called Odin. Comes in a little tiny box that is like this big, and it's basically just about the size of the cards in the rule book. It's about that big, and it is a ladder climbing game where you have to play cards out of your hand that are of a higher value than what has been previously played into the middle. The first person starts off with one or more cards. Generally speaking, they're going to start with one, but that represents their number. So let's say that they play a 5. Now the next person can play one card that's higher than a 5, or they can play two cards that their values are combined as digits to make a higher number. If you play multiple cards, they have to be either the same number or they all have to be the same color suit, basically. So I could play two ones, which would constitute the value 11, and that would go out into the table. And basically, then I would have to take the 5 and put it into my hand. Now that there's an 11 out there, the next person has to do the same thing. They can play two cards or they can play three cards. But again, they all have to have the same number or they all have to have the same color. So if I had a red 1 and a red 2, I could play those two out. And then that would replace the 11 that's out there, and I would have to take one of the ones into my hand and the other one is discarded. Whenever there's multiple cards in the middle of the table and you beat it, you have to take one of the cards and the rest are discarded. And basically, you're trying to get rid of your hand because when somebody goes out, everybody else that still has cards in their hand, those cards are worth 1 point each. You play to 15. Whoever has the least amount of points is the winner. We played this game, I think, 5 times.
Wow.
But it wasn't because we enjoyed it that much. We kept getting to places because the rule book is strangely written, and we kept getting to places where like, well, what happens now? And I'd have to go
Oh,
back to the
okay.
rule book. This happens now. Well, that changes everything. Okay, we'll start over. We did that like 4 or 5 times, which was frustrating because I am a seasoned gamer. I should be able to know how to play this game. But oh my goodness, it was like there's not much here. This has got to be a simple game, and it is. But how they worded things in the rule book, I'm like, what in the world does this mean? And so we had to kind of all put our heads together to figure this out. And by I think the fourth game, we understood everything. And so we played it once and then we played it twice. So I'm really only counting it as two plays because the other three were like this is not how this game is supposed to be played. But I need to get it to the table again so that I can teach people the correct way to play it from the very beginning and then see how it goes. It's a very fast game though, because the possibility for you to get 7 or 8 points in a hand is likely. So generally speaking, you're only really going to be playing about 2 hands, maybe 3, if people are really savvy on getting those cards out of their hand during the course of the round. But we did have a good time, but I just need to get it to the table a little bit more so that we can get some more valid plays in.
That kind of brings us to the topic we're going to talk about this week, folks, and that's about like sort of publishers' responsibilities or things like that, as far as instructions, rules, components, all that kind of stuff. So, Sam, why don't you go ahead and read the note?
Absolutely. Well, this is a topic that was sent in by one of our audience members, and it was just something that they have been dealing with, I guess, or they're just kind of going into this. This is part of their experience. They've had a similar experience with multiple publishers and multiple games. And so the question that they raised was, do you think publishers, developers, whoever, basically that's the umbrella that's being thrown out there, should be responsible for providing kits, and that's in quotation marks, to rectify the kinds of mishaps that he's been having difficulty with. For example, some of the games that he has purchased came with cards that had mistakes in them. There were mistakes in the rule book that affected gameplay and all of that kind of stuff. And many of the publishers have just been putting out PDFs and having people download them. And so that's the question. And then the follow-on question is a PDF, is that good enough? While I won't go into all of the detail, he gave basically 4 different games from 4 different publishers. So just to exemplify the fact that, or the idea, maybe not the fact, but the idea that it is not a small problem within the industry. So that's where we're at. It's a question that we're going to entertain and explore.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to start off with exactly, I guess with the publisher, right? Because if that's where they're talking about the situations are emanating from,
Right.
like misprinted cards, missing component, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people, for example, like that whole Ace of Spades thing that happened at with that card game.
Mm.
And people are wondering, well, nobody saw this or blah, blah, blah. I just don't
Right.
think people understand that some of these companies, when they print games or do things, that there may not be the actual dozens or hundreds or however many eyes necessarily seeing a product. So
Mhm.
a lot of times when you get a misprint or like a grammatical error or certain things like that, it before it goes to print, it really may not have been seen or gone through that many people to sort of evaluate it or vet it. So I
Mhm.
think that is one of the big problems that I have noticed a lot of times within the industry is there is sometimes an over expectation and an under deliverance, like right, an over expectation on the audience of what they should get. I don't know if it's an over expectation. It should be an expectation that you get a
Mhm.
100% proper product,
Yep.
and there's just not enough on the back end, on the publisher end,
Mhm.
a lot of times putting out because you know you've seen it, right? Like as soon as a game comes out, there will be 100 comments on BGG. Hey, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. You spelt this, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. Because now
Right.
you have thousands of people seeing something where before they didn't. And you're like, how come they didn't catch this
Right.
before? So I think
Mhm.
that's one of the big problems, starting with the publisher and where is what they should do better.
Yeah. Well, from that aspect, that's something that I have been a part of with Monster Fight Club. When I worked for Monster Fight Club, I actually was the assistant to the project manager. And that's one of the things that he gave me to do was to help him kind of go through all of the different cards that were when I was working there. It was the Badlands. Mr. Torg's Arena of Badassery or something to that effect. I can't. That's probably I think that's right. Anyway, That's the game that I was working on. And there were so many cards. And whenever there was a little back and forth with the IP holders about the different kinds of artwork and graphics that we could use on the cards. And so there was a point at which we had all of the cards vetted, we had all of the cards the way they were supposed to look, and then we had to go back and change them. And then they had to go back and we had to re-edit them again. But again, like you were saying, this wasn't a team of 10 people doing this work. It was literally me and two graphic designers that were working on the graphic design of the cards and putting all the elements in and all of that kind of stuff. It was literally three people.
Right.
And we're talking hundreds of cards that we had to go through. So it's very correct. You are absolutely on point with that place to start at. But another thing that I'd like to add into that is that during that process, you're going through iterations. And when you're dealing with digital content like this, which is how you have to do it, so that you can send all those files to the factory when they start creating it. It's a lot easier than you would think to screw up when you are taking one iteration and saving over it, or you're taking it and it's just really simple to
Of
make a
course.
very it's the difference of one click or in the wrong place, or putting it in the wrong file folder or whatever, to where now all the work that you've done is like, well, where did that go?
Yeah.
And so and again, the team at Monster Fight Club did such a good job at keeping everything exactly the way it was, but even or the way it was supposed to be. But even then, there were times where somebody in the rush of trying to meet a deadline or trying to do this, that a mistake was made, and we had to backtrack a little bit. So again, I'm not trying to share any. I don't think I'm sharing any secrets. I think that can probably be said about any company that you talk about.
Absolutely.
That was just my experience with it. So just to I will say that there's multiple editors for the rule books usually, and there are usual, like with us, we had an editor that did all of the work, and then when he was done with all of the work that he did with the editing and the writing, we had a person that wrote it, then we had a person that edited it, and then I would go through and find things that I thought weren't worded correctly, and that I would have a discussion with the editor about, well, what did you mean by this? Because it seems like you're meaning this, but because I knew how to play the game, it seems like you're telling them to do this, but you're actually supposed to do that, that kind of stuff. And
Right.
and sometimes we would change the wording, sometimes we wouldn't. But I say all that to say this: you would think, because you do a job where you have to edit certain kinds of documents and all of that kind of stuff, and you are good at it, that everybody is going to be good at it. So when you believe that way, it's very easy to be hypercritical when it doesn't work or when something goes wrong. And I would just encourage people to resist the urge to be overcritical when this kind of stuff happens with board game companies.
Yeah, but again, Sam, I mean, I can understand what you're saying, maybe, to be overcritical, but the truth of the matter is, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
A lot of the companies sort of have to rush a product to pay the bills, right? That's what
Yeah.
happens a lot. So a lot of times they put out games quicker than they probably should have made them go through the vetting process,
Yeah.
because they have bills to pay.
Yeah.
And on the reverse, on the other side, and again, I keep trying to find things wrong with like Galactic Cruise. I told you I've been 10xing it, playing it every week. I love the game. It's like my number one game of this year.
Mhm.
And I'm just so impressed that, like, it seems it again, not that I've read every single word or know blah blah blah, but it seems like they've done everything right. the
Yeah.
insert, the rules. And I'm like that because they went through a lot of play testing, a lot of this, a lot of,
Mhm.
a lot of eyes. But then I look at a game I'm looking at right here, Teotihuacan, the deluxe master set from Board and Dice, an established company that's been around for years. And when that came out, look how many mistakes there were. And
Mhm.
I'm kind of like, how, like it just seems like there's a like to me, when you say shouldn't be overcritical, should I not be overcritical? I mean, why shouldn't
Well,
I?
I
Right?
think well, I think there's a line between being critical, which is what I think you're talking about, and
Uh-huh.
being overcritical, where and the level of overcritical for me would be you missed the article a or the 15 times in the rule book. That would for me that would be very close to being overcritical. Okay, we missed some articles. Got it.
Okay,
Did
I see.
you were still able to learn how to play the game, and it wasn't like it was a poorly written, we just grammatically missed a few, that kind of stuff.
Right.
To me, that would be over critical. Something like what you're talking about, where there are literal mistakes where it affects how you can or cannot learn how to play the game. That's different, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So I think there is a difference between being critical, which I think is fair because people paid their hard-earned money for these things. So there is a level of um, critique that should be expected and is absolutely warranted
Right.
because when you buy something and you pay, like our audience member said, who brought us this as a topic, when you pay the amount of money that companies are asking you to pay for these games right now, you kind of expect it to be polished.
Correct.
Maybe it's not blinged, maybe it's not super high value components and everything, but it's polished. You can tell that it's been gone over multiple times for looking for those mistakes and for those nuances that are going to mess things up.
Right.
Um,
And then I think to me there should be more of an expectation if I'm funding you. So if I went on Kickstarter or
mm,
GameFound and I
yeah,
prepaid and I gave you what's the term I'm looking for? Like pre-money. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Whatever to make the game, right? I so then you even to me, the publisher, the game company has even more of a responsibility because it's not like just a game they put out and it's like they got all the ownership and it's kind of like they don't quote unquote owe the customer anything, right? Because
sure,
like it's just they're just pumping it out. But if
yeah,
like thousands of people gave you hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to produce something, and then you
mhm,
put out a product that has errors and mistakes, yes, you can be overcritical to me about articles, about things like that, because it's kind of like, people paid you. Like you couldn't have
yeah.
done this maybe without their funding. So you need to be extra special cautious in that case.
I would agree with I would agree with one side of that argument. Um, the side that I would agree on is absolutely yes and amen. The publisher absolutely needs to take the responsibility of getting it right very seriously, because people are funding your product. Absolutely. The only thing that I'm wary of agreeing with is the if I can use the E word, the entitlement mentality that comes along with a lot of crowdfunding backers. Um, and that is a lot of people view themselves less as a customer. And okay, let me backtrack a little bit. I said a lot of people. The outspoken majority of the people that we deal with on Kickstarter pages tend to view themselves as investors rather than a customer. And I don't agree with that. Yes, you are giving them their money. So, on one hand, it does very much fit that investment model where you are basically paying for this product to be released. Um, and without that, maybe like you said, the product isn't released. I totally get that. But that doesn't make you necessarily an investor that now has some level of say in how the game gets produced. I
Well,
think there's a
yes.
very I think there's a very fine line there that a lot of people don't realize it's there or don't care that it's there because they cross over it a lot.
Well, right.
Um,
No, I get that, Sam, and I agree with you on that point. I mean, and again, I don't want to get too far off topic, but when you
yeah.
brought it up about that, about sort of being an investor or being entitled or whatever, I mean, again, as again, I don't want to get too far off topic, but the publishers, because that does upset a lot of people, right? When you've invested, you've given money, and then the company gets the games and they'll sort of release it at Essen. And you're like,
Mm,
how are these people who didn't back the game, why are they getting their game before I did?
mm,
Now, you know what I mean? So I don't want to get too far off topic, but and again, that to me, that goes into it. That's sort of like a stab in the heart. It's like, wait, I gave you money for the past 2 years, a zero free interest loan, essentially, I gave
mhm,
you. And now
mhm.
this person who didn't do anything for you is getting the product before I get it. Like
Yep.
that's just, so again, but that, I don't want to get off topic, but I do feel that the company sort of puts yourself out there, right? If
Mhm,
you're doing that to take people's money, then in essence, I mean, believe me, I get what you're saying, but in essence, you're opening the door to them being an investor and then giving them a little bit of entitlement because you are, you know what I mean? So again, I understand it's not full, but it's sort of you're opening that door instead of just printing the product. Then nobody's invested, nobody's quote unquote entitled, whatever. That's just it. You just made the game. But if you open that door, it does open it a little bit for that. You know what I mean?
true, and the saying, "You give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile." That
Right. Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
comes that comes up, and that's absolutely true, and that can be applied in a lot of different things, but it doesn't make it right. And the way I look at, crowdfunding anything is, I say, "Yes, I would like to have this game." And from the way it looks right now, I'm in. I'm going to give them some money for it. That doesn't mean that I have the a stake in the success or the failure of that product. It just means that I would like to have it on my shelf. That's all it means. It's no real different than if I were to walk into a store, see something on the shelf, put some money down on the counter, and take that home with me. It's just that the obvious difference is now I have to wait for 18 to 24 months before I'm going to have that product in my hand. I don't view it as an investment. I view it as this company is going to produce it. They need some money to produce it. I would like to have it after they are produced. So here's my money. It's a glorified P500, and P500 is way back in the day. I think some people are still doing it. The smaller companies where they pre-sell a number of games because that will give them the amount of money that they need to produce the game.
Correct. Yep.
But this used to happen all the time. And again, I wasn't part of it back then, and I'm not really part of them now, unless you really want to make a strong connection between it and crowdfunding. But I don't, I just can't see the investment side of things. I get that it probably feels like it to some people because you are investing your money in a venture that's going to take a while to come to fruition.
But again, it comes back to, I guess, to the topic you're talking about where exactly is the responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So if a rule
Yeah.
book has misprints, if cards are misprints, is
Mhm.
just a PDF suffice where now I have to go on the internet, download the PDF, staple it together, print it out, all that kind of stuff? Or should the company like put out a whole new rule book and send it to
Hmm.
you, or a new errata card, like an actual card with the correct phraseology or whatever, things like that? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the question too, and it's one of those things where, so for instance, when I own the game store, that comes down to who has responsibility. Like I would sell somebody a game in shrink wrap, and they'll come back 3 days later and say, "Hey, there was a missing component," and I'm
Mhm.
like, well, what do you want me to do? Like,
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, but I understand where they're coming from, right? So this is sort
Yeah.
of the same thing. Like, there's an expectation on me where I sold the product, so people are expecting me to rectify it, right?
Right.
And I'm like, well, I bought the product, so like,
Yeah.
I can't do it. Like, it was in shrink wrap. I didn't touch it. There's a piece
Yeah.
missing. What am I? And then, so now, it has goes back to the publisher. Should they be responsible? So this is sort of that same kind of thing. Like, where
Mhm.
is the liability? Where is the culpability? Who do you go to repair the situation? How should it be rectified? How should it be repaired? And again, there are levels, right, about what should be done. Is just a
Mhm.
PDF sufficient? But if we allow that, Sam, right, for just a PDF to be sufficient or whatever, then are we letting publishing companies off the hook,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I got to see I got to see both ends of this spectrum, I think. I worked for a couple of companies. One of them had a lot of problems with their rule books, the other one not so much. And I will say that just based on experience, I'm not saying what's right or what's wrong. First of all, let me first of all agree with you. I do believe that the publisher is where the responsibility lies in situations like this. If a card is wrong, if a component is missing, if a rule book has an egregious amount of errors in it, I think all of the responsibility for all of those lies on the publisher, not the FLGS, not the distributors, not any of those. It squarely lies upon the shoulders of the people who were in charge of producing it, because that's what the publisher is. It's the person that's in charge. Now they're going to take all of those files and send it to a factory somewhere else in the world. But the publisher is the one that was supposed to dot their I's and cross their T's and make sure all of the ducks were in a row before they give it to the factory. So it's not really the factory's fault unless they're using materials that are different than what the publisher and the factory agreed upon. But the publisher, I think, is the person that, or the entity, let's put it that way, that should be held ultimately responsible. Now,
right.
um, do I think a PDF is good enough? I think for the amount of money that it would take to send physical replacements for some of these things, for some of these publishers, especially the smaller ones, that could be like a deal breaker as far as, okay, well, if we're going to pay all of this money for this to send physical replacements for all of these things to all of our people, well, we not only just we didn't break even anymore. Now we've lost $15,000 on this venture because production, shipping, materials, all of that adds up. So I think there are times when a PDF fix is absolutely viable because it's not expensive for the publisher and it's not expensive for the customer either. And I think it's a good compromise to fix the problem. It might not, it's not the best. In a perfect world, the best solution is do it right the first time, and it doesn't need a fix. But if you're already at the point where, well, crap, we did have those errors, and yeah, they're pretty big, but good night. We don't, we can't spend 20 grand to get all of that stuff made and ship it out to everybody. So I think a PDF in many cases would be a good fix.
Yes, but again, you're right, because that's sort of easy. It doesn't cost a whole lot, but there are games I remember. What about games that have a whole entire print run where there's one piece that doesn't stand up straight,
Yeah.
right? For the
Well,
mold might have been wrong or something,
yeah.
and the piece just doesn't stand up straight, and there are thousands of copies out there that the
Mhm.
game that has that one piece, right? Like, should the publisher just say, "Oh, well, sand it down or use a cube or do something else?" Or like, "Hey, I paid $50 for this game, and there's one piece that's just dysfunctional, and it's not just my game; it's all of your games.
Yep.
Go ahead and send us all a piece." Or give us a place where we can go get a piece or fix it, right?
Yeah.
So again, I think the fundamental question is, and again, there are levels, is the publisher has to fix it, right? I mean,
Yes.
whatever it is, they have to
Yeah.
fix it, whether it's a
They have to
PDF,
provide a fix. Yeah.
whether it's a new rule book, but they have to provide something
Yep.
as a fix.
If it's a physical component, like a miniature or something to that effect. I do know that um, more often than not, publishers will have an overage. They will make an overage of product so that they can have those in store
Hmm.
for when missing components are there or when broken components show up or something like that. They have and a surplus on hand that they can send out to people as replacements. So I do know that that is a common practice within the industry. So there is um, because some of that stuff you just can't plan for. Something gets broken in transit, it doesn't, that just happens. Doesn't matter how good your storage solution is. Sometimes it just happens. There's nothing you can really do about it. So they plan on that happening to an extent. But once that surplus runs out, now you're talking about doing another print run. That molds to create them the first time, they're super expensive. They're not as expensive once you've made the mold, and you just have to make more of that miniature or whatever it is. It's not as expensive them, but it's still a good chunk of money. So it, I think it really, with plastic components, if I get a game that has a dude that's, should have had a V8, and he's kind of leaning over and it's a plastic component, dude, just get a bowl, put some hot water in it and fix it. Fix it yourself. There is something to be said for, okay, look, I got this product. It isn't the perfect thing, but I know I can fix that. I don't have to contact the publisher. I don't have to ask them to send me a new one. I don't have to do anything. I can take care of that. I think there is a level of ownership that's there once you receive a product. If you can tweak it a little bit and it's perfect or it's good enough, leave the publisher alone. But on the other side of that, if it's an egregious mistake, if it's a widespread mistake, I think publishers will want to know that. And generally speaking, more often than not, publishers are made up of good people, honest people, and they want to do the right thing.
Correct. Yeah. So at the end of the day, with this person who wrote this thing, I'm not exactly sure of their situations or this or that, but I think we're all in agreement, and I think everybody can agree, publishers, consumers, or whatever, that there should always be a yes, right? If there is an issue with a game, whether it's in rule books, whether it's a opponent, yes, the publishers should just provide a fix. Now, again, like you said, if it's like, hey, you missed a the here, you missed an a here, we all have to, kind of pull it back. There are different kind of levels. However, there should be an alternative fix. If there are thes and a's missing somewhere, great. Print out it with those put in. The publisher print it out, make it available so people can have the correct terminology if they're that concerned about it. But at the end of the day, I just think that, yes, the publishers should provide a fix. Regardless of what it is, there should be something that is available to the people to make their product I guess I don't want to. This is kind of weird how to put this, but I guess they should fulfill the expectations of the buyer, right? If you buy something, you're expecting a complete, full, 100% product. So,
correct.
Right. So, I guess whatever that takes to fulfill that purchase of the customer to make them feel like they got that, then those should be taken.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you.
So write in the comments, folks, what you think about that, and let us know your experiences, right? Let us know maybe the good and the bad, right? Because there's both sides. Like companies, like I just with that Kinson Key with the Galactic Cruise, I just think they did everything right. Blah blah blah. So let us know what companies are you really happy with, who provided excellent customer service, who fixed things, this, that. Let us know the different types of fixes. Right, that companies have provided, right? What they've done to rectify situations that they may have gotten wrong, or when they produced a game and may have erred. So that'd be interesting to know as well.
Yep, please do.
Yeah. Well, Sam, as always, it's been another great week.
Yes, sir.
We are here again next Thursday. And so when that's when we film, by the way, we changed our filming day. So I'll be able to talk about what happened at the World Series of Board Gaming.
Yeah, looking forward to that debriefing.
Yes, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, a good week. And all of you out there, again, remember, be kind to each other as always, and try to play a lot of games with the same people or with different people, like we talked about last week. Right? Put up a flag in your house. Maybe somebody the neighborhood will come on in and play a game with you.
I don't think that's going to happen. That's great, though.
All right. Until next time, folks, I'm Tim from Las Vegas.
And Sam from the Pacific Northwest. See you guys and gals on the flip side. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.